Here I am, after so many years, hounded by hatred and trapped by fear. I'm in a box, I've got no place to go. If I follow my mind, I know I slaughter my own. Help me, I'm the prisoner. Won't you hear my plea? I need somebody, yeah, to listen to me.
Welcome to the Northeast Political Prisoner Coalition podcast. I am Brother Frank, and usually I'm with my brother Abdul Haq Islam, but he has some serious matters that he has to deal with medically, but he continues to be with us in spirit. So with that fiery spirit that he brings, I'll continue this episode. We have a representative of Prison Matters. We're going to get this brother on so he can speak. Peace and love, my brother. How you doing?
Man, good fam. Peace. How you doing too?
I'm doing great. I can't complain. I'm glad that you're able to get on today. You know, I did some research on Prison Lives Matter. So I just want you to inform the viewers about what that movement is about and why it's important for people to get aboard and support it any way possible.
So Prison Lives Matter is a campaign to abolish legalized slavery. And what we do is we recognize that the ongoing role of the United States is a form of genocide, that they, just basically took legislation and allowed it to be a position to keep the people enslaved. That's what they have done. So the United States was found guilty for crimes against humanity back in 2021. And so right now what we're doing is educating the people, making them be aware of what that really means about the United States being found guilty of those crimes against humanity. One being mass incarceration. Second one, political prisoners, which are POWs. Third, the public inequities, environmental racism. There's one more. Maybe it's police killings or mass incarceration or something, but basically that's what the Prison Lives Matter is out here to do, is to abolish legalized slavery and show that basically all of the people are really in prison. You know what I'm saying? You got to ask permission to do anything in this country, and that's a form of slavery. It's bondage. So first we accomplished this mission by liberating our elders primarily, and then coming after all the people. But most importantly is our elders, because they're the ones that have the wisdom. They've been through this, being locked up for 50 years. For what? Because we prisoners.
Yes, and I'm glad that you said that, because Ruchell McGee has been recently released, and he did 67 years, and he's 83 years old. So that's very unfortunate that he had to spend the majority of his life in prison, and I think that that's why we need to be inspired to come together, express solidarity and unity around abolishing the prison industrial complex system. And I know that, while we take on this fight, it's important that we have political prisoners involved in it. And that's why one of the things we do on this platform is promote writing political prisoners and having them having input into this work. So now we can attack it from different fronts, from those who are incarcerated and those who are outside. And what's your position as far as the role of political prisoners in being involved in these campaigns?
Well, they are the elders. Most of the political prisoners that from, historically been locked up over 10, 15 years, they got a lot more experience of this fight. So the role is they should be our counsel. They should be the when we talk about liberating our elders, there's some elders that are liberated. And when it comes to these political prisoners, our generation should be looking to them for guidance and then taking what we've learned and coming together to set the captives free. So it's a necessary to be able to learn from them, grasp from them. Like Brother Jalil, locked up 49 years. He's the one that led that tribunal to find the United States guilty of those crimes against humanity. Where at some point he was a political prisoner, and he came out boots on the ground, picking up where he left off at. Well, honestly, Jalil never stopped. That's the truth.
Yes.
He never stopped. And so I think, at least from where I stand at, is my generation sometimes has not looked to the elders for that, the guidance and the wisdom. And we starting our own thing, and I don't believe that's what it is. We picking up from where the Panthers left off at in the Rainbow Coalition, and the brothers that's in COINTELPRO, like they still locked up or they still out here living. So it just makes sense as our generation to sit at their feet and learn from them.
Yeah, that's an excellent point, and I'm in total solidarity with that. I do some work in Queensbridge, the biggest public housing in the United States. And one of the things that I was able to get accomplished was actually have us do a workshop on writing Veronza Bowers, because we was dealing with a community support grieving and how the communities come together to deal with various grievings that individual will be going through. And Veronza was able to have his input, and that built a relationship, and that let him know that he's valued. And just as you said, they're counsels, so he's providing counsel on that end. And another time I was in Jamaica Houses, and I spoke in front of the tenants at one of their monthly meetings and told them about Kamal Siddiqui and how he was part of Black Panthers that was on New York Boulevard at that time. So I think that people need to be reminded of their history, and that nobody gets anywhere without the sacrifices of others. And that's why when we continue to struggle, that we have to incorporate those who made those sacrifices, and we have to learn about them, learn about their examples, and teach our children about who their real heroes should be. What's your position on teaching our children about political prisoners and even the work of Prison Lives Matters?
So I think that my position is I'm in solidarity with it, and we need to start our own curriculum, because I feel like so often what we doing is asking somebody to teach us that don't know how to treat us. That's our position. We're the ones that's supposed to be in the family unit, teaching our community, teaching our children, as it was in the days with the tribes, with the elders. You know what I'm saying? Every tribe in the village, they taught. They didn't go somewhere else to learn. They taught. And that's the model that we need to stand up and handle right now.
Yes, that's an excellent point. And, from a personal experience, I know exactly what you mean, because one time my son came home and he said, guess what, Dad, my teacher said we couldn't write about Malcolm X because he was violent and bad. And, we took a stand. We was on radio. We was on in like the page 6 of Daily News. And we was on a number of different broadcasts. And that came from us taking a position and letting people know that these are heroes, and you're not going to discredit our heroes. You're not going to belittle our heroes, that we're going to express self-determination on all levels. And I think that that's very important that, we take that position and we do that, because if we don't, then, we're going to undermine our development as a people.
Right. Definitely.
So it's like, if we don't do what we're supposed to do, then, we're going to be moving behind. And I think that that's why it's very important that, we use our platforms like this platform to talk about political prisoners and talk about Prison Lives Matters. How can we get people to get more involved in the work of Prison Lives Matters?
So right now we got a website, support prisonlivesmatter.org. And if you go there, you can get more information and sign up like that. I'm the state rep for Illinois, so that's my position with the Prison Lives Matter. But I'm also the national chair for our lawful committee. And when we building up the lawful committee, what I'm mostly teaching is about the people's rights and what legalized slavery is, because I think there's a misconception that slavery only deals with the people that are physically incarcerated. Prison is a mindset also. So somebody could be mentally in prison, as a man think it, as the Honorable Marcus Garvey used to talk about man, know thyself. If we could just know who we are. So I think we have to also get to the point where we're abolishing the mindset of the prison that we are held captive, as well as our spirits is held captive. So when we look at the lawful committee from where I'm standing at with the national position of that, I'm saying here's how we liberate our elders, but let's liberate our minds first so we have a freedom way thinking. Because sometimes we look to the system to be the solution, and that's not what it is. The system is the problem. They have great ideas in some areas, but it's not in a mass, movement where our people are not being enslaved. So I'm not going to ask, again, as I said previously, the one that don't know how to treat me to teach me. This is something that we have to do, as you said earlier, with El Haj Malik Shabazz, known as Malcolm X. That's one of our heroes. We don't got to take nobody else's heroes, because that's very specific to our Aboriginal indigenous nature and culture that we've been stripped from, and they're constantly trying to strip, because even their mindset is in a prison. They thinking what they doing at some points is right, and it's wrong. You can't tell another man or woman what to do and how to live in their life. That's a form of prison. You got to ask a passport to leave the country. What kind of crap is that? I ain't need no passport to get here. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So
right.
that's the level where we as a people, we have the right to a republic form of government, like the Republic of New Africa. And that is our right to self-determination, our right to self-governing. And so what I teach and do, I actually implement it, is whenever you infringe upon my rights, I'm entitled to a remedy. You know what I'm saying? So, we could do the march, we can do, the protests and all that. But how about we go into, the United Nations and file a claim for a deprivation of our rights, because that's what's been happening. We have right as people, you know what I'm saying? And that's the angle that I think we need to be learning, as learning and then implementing. Learn and then implement. Learn then implement,
Yeah, I know what you mean, because the Black Panthers had that formula. They said theory, practice, theory.
Yes.
And that's very important, because people get comfortable with over theorizing something, and they don't have no plan of action. So that's why you have to have that formula, so that, okay, I read this book and I read what it said. Now I'm going to apply it in my community. I'm going to let my community know that there is a representation of this particular idea, and this idea is going to be implemented wherever anybody who has some unity and solidarity with it comes aboard. One of the things that I do or have done, and I encourage others to do, is to you be creative when you're trying to win people over to your idea. Like, I had this flag made that expressed our view about don't let political prisoners die in prison. I had that done from somebody on Facebook Marketplace. And so wherever I'm at, I have that flag, so people know that there's a representation of that. I had this hat done and this shirt done. And the point I'm making is that, when you talk about prison lives matters, or you talk about any idea that's representative of us moving forward, you have to be creative with that idea. Put up a mural, put up a banner, wherever people are going to be at, so that they know that idea is going to be there all the time. And they're going to have to deal with that at some point, right? Like these corporations, they advertise wherever it's possible. You see, you already associate the word just do it with Nike, so every time you see that, you automatically think Nike. You even subconsciously think about, maybe I need to buy a pair of Nikes for that level of comfort, or that that edge that I'm going to get to do it. And I think that that's what we have to do when we talk about political prisoners of wars, any idea that's representative of our development. So in terms of creativity, what would you encourage people to do? on your end, or?
So what I am, we when you go to support Prison Lives Matter, we got some T-shirts there that says Prison Lives Matter, and it's very unique to the brushstrokes in the Prison Lives Matter. And then what I'm doing is what our Prison Lives Matter Illinois. I take the state, but keep the Prison Lives Matter brushstroke logo in the state. So when we go to Georgia, we go to New York, everywhere you're gonna see, it's gonna be the same Prison Lives Matter, but then it's gonna represent that state. And so it constantly gets in. And what I'm teaching from Illinois is Prison Lives Matter is both physical, mental, and spiritual. So it's really getting to the root of this, this oppression, this colonized mindset, and saying, listen, here's how we're gonna bring this together. And in the spirit of Fred Hampton Sr., when he talked about you don't fight racism with racism, you fight it with solidarity. So I'm looking at whoever's going to be an ally, recognizing that this colonial mindset that conquered those that were in Turtle Island, because even though they call it North America, it originally was the Turtle Islands. That's what, it says Aboriginals and Indigenous know it by. We are recognizing that we as a people got to set those captives free that are in prison, because so many people don't even recognize that they're in prison today. They think we're free. If you free, then why you can't, buy a car without giving the government something? Why you got to get permission to travel? Because they say you drive, you got to pay for a license. Why you got to work and they taking taxes out your check? I thought the government was created by the people, not the people the other way around. You know what I'm saying? If the people created government, why is this system taken from us? So we have to educate, and unite with our allies, activists, advocates, and recognize this colonial system has put the people in prison. And it's our generation that's set here to set these people free.
Absolutely, and I think the way we set them free is organizing and organized action, discipline, because everybody has to belong to some organization, because you can't do this work by yourself, and you have to make sacrifices. You have to reduce distractions if you can't eliminate those distractions. And I think that that's very important, because when we talk about eliminating and reducing distractions, because this is the second day of Black August, and we know that George Jackson, it was done in his spirit, and it's about being disciplined. It's about having appropriate diet, exercising, committing yourself to political education, intense political studies, so you have a sharp analysis of what's happening, and you be able to position yourself to produce the reality that you want. And I think that that says a lot about Prison Lives Matters, because when I read about what it's about and the unity and solidarity, I understand that requires discipline. So I salute you, brother, for coming on and letting the people know about Prison Lives Matters, because when we look at our political prisoners, our elders, and all these years that they have been incarcerated, I think that if more people did the work that you and NEPPC is doing, then they would be home a lot quicker. Because let's be honest, the state did not want to free Ruchell Magee. The state did not want to free Mutulu Shakur or Russell Maroon Schultz. They wanted them to die in prison. But it's people who's doing the work, right? And if more of us doing the work, then I think that we could get them home a lot sooner. What's your thought on the importance of people getting involved in this work, especially if they call themselves activists or revolutionaries?
So I think it's very important. And what we're doing, we're going to have a Prison Lives Matter University that goes along with the Lawful Committee to teach those advocate activists and organizers what this work really is. Because when the people are in prison, they really kidnap. This ain't, you done kidnap these people. They're prisoners of war. So what we have to do is teach people how to engage in this war and how to win, because a lot of times we step out trying to do something and we just following something based on what we see naturally, and there's not a spiritual part in that movement. And so in the spirit of Mandela and working with the Jericho movement and
you having some technical difficulties, brother? Well, while the brother comes back on, I just want to inform those who are viewing about what's coming up. August 4th to August 6th. It's going to be online. Prison Lives Matter, Liberate Our Elders webinar and panel discussion. And I think that's very important that people know about it. Please share with as many people as possible. Let people know about what's happening. Let's get involved. Brother, you still there? Oh, you're on mute.
Can you hear me, brother?
Yeah, I hear you now, brother. Yeah, I was just informing the viewers about what's coming up. You want to speak on this?
I was trying to get the do not disturb, man, and I couldn't figure out how to do it because, you know, when a call come in to block me, man, I'm at work. But I'm the one that's cheering it up for the Chicago, for this the webinar and panel. So that's what I'm in Illinois, so I'm the one that's putting it together for Chicago. And what that panel is really discussing is about the crimes against humanity that happened in 2021 with Brother Jalil. And then it's talking about the People's Senate. So what Brother Jalil has put out a blueprint with the Spirit of Mandela, where we in our own communities have our own form of government, along with the Republic of New Africa. And so it's given that whole situation, what happened with that tribunal and what we can do in our communities, and also highlighting what people are already doing in our communities. For instance, when we talk about the environmental racism and the health inequities, we in our own communities got gardening and growing our own vegetables. How do we expand that across the state? You know, that's what it is. Once you get that blueprint, you take that blueprint and you share it with other entities and organizations without trying to say, well, pay me for this. No, if you got it, let's expand that model and let everybody become self-sustaining and independent. So that's what this panel is really going to touch on, break down, share some of the liberated elders, which will be on the panel, show how they came out, boots on the ground, doing what they did, and also providing the remedy, you know, teaching. Like, there's a lot of trauma that has happened to our people. And one of those things is, how do we overcome from that? How do we heal from that as a people that's constantly being traumatized? You know, you say get over it. How can I get over something that's steady happening to me today? You know, every time we go outside, we're being targeted, you know. So we need to educate the people about their rights and what to do. And that's what we'll be doing with this panel.
I'm so happy that, you know, I'm looking forward to hearing it. I'm looking forward to sharing it because, you know, I noticed that it's New York, Chicago, and Oakland. And so, you know, we got it. It's a national campaign. And I think that that's very important because it lets people know that wherever you at, you know, you can't dodge this reality. You got to face it. And, you know, people need to see that because sometimes people take a position that, oh, that don't happen where I'm at. Right? Like if they're trying to run from it. But my teacher always told me that, you know, you're running from something until you run right into it. And I think that that's very important with what y'all doing on that national level. And, you know, this platform is always a platform for those who are advocating for the release of the political prisoners. So whenever you have anything happening, my brother, you know, you're more than welcome to come on and let people know. And, you know, so we could all stay informed because we need to have that united front. And one of the things that I'll be involved in is Vegan Fest in Queensbridge. And I have a table about political prisoners. And I just mentioned that because it's important that, you know, we do things in the community and let the community know in the spirit of sacrifice and the spirit of our political prisoners that we're out there. You know,
man, salute, comrade. What I'll do is I get your information, you know, after this, and then I'll send you, you know, a newsletter, something, you know, that you can have some material, you know, just to put it out, and we steady sowing that seed, man. That's very much appreciated too. You know, gratitude from the Most High on that. Real talk.
Absolutely, my brother. So, you know what I mean? I touched on everything about that I could think of touching on. And, you know, this is the first of many encounters between me and you and NEPPC and Prison Lives Matters. So, you know, keep us informed, keep doing your work, you know, encourage the youth to be involved. And but I'm speaking to the choir, as they say, a preacher to the choir, you know what I mean? From what you said and how detailed you are, you already know what you have to do, like I know what we have to do. All right, brother. Any last remarks, brother?
Yeah. So when you go to support Prison Lives Matter, the visionary behind all of this, who put this all together, is Kwame Bean Shakur. So we got a freedom campaign for Kwame Bean Shakur, which is a political prisoner on the plantation in Indiana. So I want that to be very much put out there, because he's in the same type of scenario as Mutulu Shakur, and I'm not saying on the same level of it. I'm saying as another one that has a freedom campaign that's doing this work, like Jalil and all many of the other elders and comrades out here doing it. And so often we get caught up in the movement and we don't remember or recognize that who initiated the movement. And that's where the honor comes in, you know. So I give salute to my brother Kwame Bean Shakur and saying his freedom campaign, hear about his story. At the panel, I'll be touching more on that, showing the inconsistencies in the case in this, because they really got him on a retaliation because he beat another case, and they put some on this brother. And so we got to educate the people to show how this colonial system is embedded in their spirit to always come at us as people. And so the more we get educated about our rights, the more we're taught on how to get a remedy for an infringement of violating our rights, teaching us how to use international law to come at these inequities and harms it's doing to the people. Then not only will we say power to the people, but you will see the power in the people, through the people, because the people have always had the power. So just the last thing, again, I want to reiterate my brother Kwame Bean Shakur. He is the visionary behind this Prison Lives Matter, which he honors the elders that came in and, you know, taught him and mentored him, and how he did his own self-determination and realizing, you know, how he had to grow and develop from a mindset, from mind, spirit. We want to make sure that we recognize that this campaign, this movement still is wrapped around that brother Kwame Bean Shakur.
Yes, I appreciate you, brother. Continue to do the work. And, you know, the call, what's the call, brother?
Free the land, free them all.
Free the land, by free them all. Necessary. Yes, thank you, brother, for tuning in, man. But thank you for you know, coming on our podcast, man, and giving us that very important information, bro. Yeah, so there you have it. You know, we got informed by the brother, man, brother, about what's coming up. So just want to give you some information. That information again that's happening. So you can share with as many people as possible. Prison Lives Matter at protonmail.com and Panther Shepcat at AOL.com. And I just wanted to read something that's on Prison Lives Matter for those who might just be tuning in right now. Prison Lives Matter is a united front for political prisoners, prisoners of war, politicized individuals behind enemy lines and their organizations, as well as any outside formations in unison to abolish legalized slavery. The objectives of Prison Lives Matter is to establish a national infrastructure within the overall prison movement that will allow us to implement a national strategy geared toward creating regional organizing committees on both sides of the war. The ROCs will be put in place through the work of the current Prison Lives Matter National Coordinating Committee, which is made up of some of the nation's leading political prisoners and their outside support networks, including former political prisoner Jalil Muntaqim, who was liberated in 2020. It is the job of NECC members behind enemy lines to set forth political education classes and cadre development programs that will help transform their environment in captivity. These environments should serve as revolutionary universities, liberation schools, and cadre training centers so that upon re-entry into society, we will have capable cadre leaders ready to step into the movement and continue the work needed to build and rebuild our infrastructure. Incarcerated members of the NCC will network with other captives throughout their state in order to appoint field marshals capable of developing political education classes in each camp. This broadening of the PLM platform is what will essentially lay the foundation for the regional organizing committees. Outside members of the NCC will utilize the national network of support groups, families of incarcerated individuals, and other formations within the PLM movement to establish the ROCs. We have witnessed the difficulties of assembling national demonstrations with limited resources and calling on our leaders to travel around the country, making these things possible only once a year. This organizing strategy of the PLM-NCC/ROC will prove most effective in terms of forming regional vanguards that are able to mobilize boots on the ground and respond to the call of action when necessary. Rather than organizing and mobilizing, the most important work of PLM, both inside and out, is to educate. The political education of those held captive, as well as comrades and the masses, is the tool needed to build resistance and sustain a movement for liberation. Prison Lives Matter is not about reform of the existing system through this united front, which operates on an anti-racist, capitalist, imperialist line. We will strive to expose the prison industrial slave complexes, hidden political and economic position of hierarchy within the United States empire, therefore raising consciousness to the contradictions that exist on class, race, and national oppression, leading to the rise of mass incarceration, legalized slavery, and the building of more state and privatized prisons. The higher calling for the in the spirit of Nelson Mandela campaign is one calling for an international investigation into the human rights violation of prisoners that exist within the United States. However, in order to garner the recognition and support of the international community, we must establish this infrastructure and national strategy on these shores. We are our own liberators. Kwame Bean Shakur. All right, there you have it. Please share this episode with 10 people. Let's come together. Let's get united. Let's organize to make sure that we stay consistent with fighting for what's in our interests. So once again, you know how we do. And you know what we stand for when you come on this platform. You know, what's the call? Free them all. What's the call? What's the call? Free them all. What's the call? Free them all.